I'm using quite a bit of medium in here too. I was told by my mentor years ago. He said for earth tones, any anytime you're using earth tones and the darker colors, you really need to use 3 times as much medium. So I'm very conscious of that. I won't. I won't paint dark colors without really using a bunch of medium. Restating some areas with some more bold strokes. I just love the way Sargent used those bold strokes, man. Just real bold. He wasn't afraid to go in and do those big strokes. Admire him for that. Lets me know she had some kind of pants suit on of some sort, you think? I think she had some on. What do you think? Like a pants suit on or some sort. Okay. Let's go. And I will revisit these edges. I'm not totally done with those edges, you know. I just put them in for a short period and take a look at the whole later. That's the way they'll go about doing it. You know, I don't stop at one point. We talked yesterday. If I'm going to make this partially my dark side, I can go lighter here if I want. But I am conscious of the hair. I need that hair to sing a little bit more. So I don't want to. And I say sing is to stand out just a little bit more. Let me clarify what I'm saying. Sometimes I get into my own little lingo and I forget I'm not just talking to myself. Now, I'll keep working the background because I have to work the hair in with it. But I just want to put a layer on, a thin layer, just so I can get the feel of the hair, just a little bit more, of the background, just a little bit more, because I am going to focus on the hair. Once I start putting the hair in, I'll put another layer, and then I will sort of work the hair and the background in at the same time. But I just want to have a good solid layer on it first. Not too thin, as I said, fairly thin, not too thick, fairly thin. Man, I can't talk today. I'm having trouble talking to y'all today. We'll find that later. Okay. So I'm using quite a bit of a medium, quite a bit here. using noise. Let me take this off of here. I have my, well, I have my palette tucked underneath my easel. So you're hearing this noise, which is irritating to me too. Knock that down a little bit. So if I knock that down, I want to knock this down. Why? Because I don't want my eye to go down there. If it's too light down there, for my taste, it pulls my eye. It may not pull your eye. It may not do anything on your end. But if it's pulling my eye, that's a big flag for me. I don't want it to take my eye down here, you know. Using a bunch of this paint I have just sitting on the palette. Try not to waste anything. I can't wait until I start to really working on her face and pulling her forward. I think you guys will see exactly what I'm doing. once I start to do that, you know, you'll see how I start to pull things in. And let's take care of this edge. Edge work just depends. I'm not a very loose painter. Um, so if you want something to come forward, you know, you have a harder edge. If you want something to recede, you soften that edge. So I think of edge work according to when things are turning. If it's turning, then I try to soften the edge. If I want it to come forward more and it's not turning, then I will put a more firm edge, you know. But and I try my best not to halo it. You know, that's my mentor told me years ago. You know, don't have a halo around it. So clothing as well as hair, you know, the painting, it goes in and out of that space. So you have this space. So how can I show that it's going in and out? Sometimes it takes a while to build that up. But, you know, you don't get it all, you know, right away. So I'm gonna put out some more white paint so I can start working on this. I want to do something in there. And again, this is just titanium white. I use all, if you paint with oils, I encourage you to use good quality professional oil paint. Try your best not to buy the cheap paint. Because you have to use 3 times as much just to get the colors to work, you know. Because they put a lot of filler in it. You know, I don't just stick with any. I don't have just. How can I put this? I use whatever professional brand paint I can get hold to, but I'm a big fan of the Winsor Newton. I've been using those for many, many years. And, you know, they just seem just to work for me. So that's what I've been using for a long time. You know, this is going to appear very white, but it's actually fairly gray. There's 2 grays that I like using. I like using raw umber as a gray because it's more of a warm gray. And then I will also use ivory black and white. But I will vary these grays working off the palette, meaning that I didn't want to do that. Not yet. Meaning that I will mix grays with the colors that's on the palette. I'm not like this. This is multiple colors with this gray. There's multiple colors. You know, whatever's on the palette that made this, that made this, that made this, I use it until and then I just add white to it. That's all. To extend the value of it, you know. Because I don't want to go too light too fast. Like I said earlier, I want to sneak up on it. So, yes, I do want to go lighter because I could feel the beautiful colors in this, in her. See, I just took some of that tone, Some of this tone need to be in here. Some of this tone need to be back there. Some of this tone need to be. So, just to unify the whole painting. That was the word I wanted to use earlier. Sometimes you can't get to it. It's early in the morning, and this is the best time for me to paint. I do my best painting in the morning. If I wait too late, in the afternoon, and I start to paint when it gets close to night, I don't paint as well at night. It's been going on like that for a minute. This is gonna appear really light, but it's really not. The camera or the contrast and the values of making it like that. But it's an actual gray. Great. I'm gonna try to show you. Let's see if I can show you. Let me lean it. I'm gonna lean this over the top. So you see I have the white, and then next to that, that's the puddle that I'm using. And then there are the other puddles next to it. So it's not as white as you think. I'm putting it in fairly thin at this point. Using all of these beautiful colors that's just sitting around here, sitting on this palette. I've decided to take it down just a bit right here. And the reason being is because I want to put a little bit of this in here, a little bit of skin tone in here. I want to have more room to extend it even more. That's what I'm trying to say. So to extend it more, to make the try to get the what's going on with it. I can't exactly tell what's going on with it yet. So until I get that, I decided to go back into the same areas and just knock them down a little bit. Just knock it down just a bit. I'm gonna come back later and build up some real nice solid whites in here. But until then, let's take that up some. Okay. Bouncing the shirt seems, this blouse seems really cool. So in the shallow area, sometimes I like to put a little warm in there. Especially to suggest her skin tone that's reflecting into that. So it's not just about gray, you have a little bit of a skin tone, you have a little bit of the gray from from her blouse working through there. You have, just different lightings going through there, and it just gives it some life, to make it a little bit warmer. let's do some mapping points in here as this goes. I don't have to be, with this shirt, with her blouse, I feel like I don't have to be super accurate. I can sort of play with the idea here, and moving things in and out, you know. I don't have to be so tight. Because I can't really see what's going on with it. You know, is the blouse going here? And, you know, is it turning here? Is it? But what I'm trying to say is that once I start working with it, I could get the feel of what's going on. If I just throw it together like, oh, it's gonna look flat. So what's really going on with it? You know, what am I trying to say here? And the same thing goes here. Until I feel comfortable with what I'm doing, I don't leave that edge hard. I soften that edge up the same way. I just have a dry brush. I'm just softening up that edge. Drawing, thinking about that edge. Because if I soften it up now, I could go back. You know, you can always make an edge harder. You can always come back and make it harder. But having it soft sort of start me to thinking, well, what's really going on here, you know? You know, is this a soft edge? Is it a hard edge? Is it turning? You know? Is it asking me for something? I don't know. There could be multiple things going on. But I was told at a workshop, you know, I don't want to tell too much of there, that you should have more soft edges than hard edges. That's always a big thing. The edges tell the story of the artist to me. You know, how they go about handling edges. Different artists will handle edges different. There's no guideline to how you must handle edges. Edges is something that you think about, and you work them yourself, and you figure out how you want to go about handling edges. You know, everybody's going to do it differently. In a little while, I have to take my daughter to work, so I'm going to take a short break in a little bit because I have to take my daughter to work. And but I'll definitely be back because I am having some fun here. You know, even though my morning started out a little bit rough. No, I won't leave that like that. Let's work on that right now. I think I'm gonna get a bigger brush. For some reason, these, you know, I just love painting with a big brush. Let's see. But for the shirts, always for the clothing, I really love using a big brush because I admire Sargent definitely for that. Sargent would definitely use a big brush. When you see the clothing that he those fabulous, I call them a ball gown, to where they just, man, he just goes at it and like, wow. Can't believe he put that much time into, those big, gigantic strokes. Working off the palette. Then, just like I said, all these colors are just colors that are already on the palette. I'm just adding white to it. That's all. Digging in there. Some of these colors are kind of imagined that's there. You imagine like, you don't necessarily see them, but you feel them. You feel them there. You be like, oh man, this feels like this is this and this and this. And this is why I have so many dirty brushes, because I constantly pull brushes. I'm like, man, I need another brush. Oh man, I can't use this one. I need to get another one. So I end up with all of these dirty brushes, and then I don't want to wash them. Feel free to comment on that too. Like, man, and maybe you need to wash them. See how bright that is? The shirt. It's bright, and I'm not even close to using something that's white. Not even close. So it shows you, you're working on something, and if you go too light too fast, you end up just washing just washing out your color. So take your time and add some color in there. Like I'm thinking about how these folds are sort of this section here. It's not as light as you think. Do I even want the eye down there that much? Most of the time, the answer is no. I really don't. Let's cut into that a little bit. And then, so as I'm working this, I'll start seeing what the blouse is actually doing. I don't know what it's doing yet. I still don't know what it's doing, because I can't really tell from this reference. That's why it's so much fun painting from life, because you can examine things a little bit closer. Now this is just me just handling this edge, the wet on wet, rather than even using a dry brush. If I don't like a certain edge, I could always go back and I could clean it up like I'm getting ready to do. If I've done a little bit too much, I could clean it up a little bit. lightening things up as I see fit. I just love this big brush, you know, these big brushes. If you don't have any big brushes, get you some. get you some big brushes. I still don't like the edge that much. I'll be careful not to halo it, okay? Okay, oh, I almost forgot. God, I'm glad you all reminded me. I want to knock this down a little bit. And the reason being, because I felt like my eye would go to it. So I'll take another lint-free piece of cloth. And just knock it down a bit. So then I'm gonna dip into some medium. I just don't want it to read this light. Just knock it down just a bit. Take it into the vignette in there. Take it into that. Even this edge would bother me. I just don't want it there. Let's take a read on this vignette and see. Also, take some of the color into it. You know, you can always, since I have it on here. Okay, that just helps my eye. I don't know about anybody else's eye, but it just helps my eye. What time is it? Oh, okay. I got to get ready to stop because I have to take my daughter to work. But I will be back and we will address the hair since the background is still wet. I'm going to leave this for now. I'm going to, remember, knock off some of those high red, and I definitely want to do this. You definitely want to do this when you're working with dark color because the light will definitely pick up these sheens of dark. This also help with your edges. If you wanted to use even a fan brush to sort of help with edges, I'm not blending, I'm just knocking down some of those edges. Just making sure that aesthetically, I do want some brushwork to show. I'm not a painter that takes all the brushwork out. I'm not that kind of painter. I kind of like to have some brushwork in there. Okay, so this is what I'll do when I come back. I'm gonna work those buttons, do something to them, and then I'm gonna go into the hair. I'm gonna save this because I'm letting it dry. Once it dry, I will oil out and then lift up some of the oil because I don't want it to be thick. So I'll use the lint-free paper towels. Once I oil out, I will take the paper towels over here. But this has to be bone dry. Put the paper towels and rub on the back to lift up some of the oil, and then I could paint into it. I can actually paint onto it that day or either wait the next day. It really doesn't make a difference. But let's stop for now.